Episode 2, Stormborn. Picking up right after the events of the last episode, we see Dany beginning to plan out her conquest of Westeros, but not before she gives Varys the business, calling him out on his constantly changing alliances, to which Varys replies that due to how he grew up, a poor boy in the Free Cities, he has always gravitated towards whom he viewed as the strongest and mightiest leader, but has always held firm to himself and the common people first. Dany responds by telling Varys to keep her in check and continue to represent the common people, but that if he betrays her like he betrayed Robert Baratheon and her father, she'll feed him to her dragon. She then assembles her war council, who, along with present company, now consists of new allies Ellaria Sand, Theon and Yara Greyjoy, and Olenna Tyrell. Dany wants to march on King's Landing and roast us to the ground with her dragons, but Tyrion advises against this, stating that they need the support of the common people, and they've already got a hard enough time getting through with that due to the fact that they only view Dany as a foreign invader who has brought savages to destroy them. They then draw up their battle plans. Highgarden and Dorne and the Iron Island fleets will accost King's Landing, keeping Cersei's forces pinned in, while Grey Worm will lead the Unsullied forces to capture Casterly Rock, the ancestral home of the Lannisters. Before everyone leaves, Olenna gives Dany some parting words, telling her to embrace her family name of the dragon, while Missandei and Grey Worm have sex. After the parties leave, Daenerys receives an unexpected visitor, Melisandre. Dany welcomes her with open arms due to how the influence of the Red Priest played a large part in her victory back in Meereen, and Melisandre warns her of the threat from the north and urges her to reach out to form an alliance with Jon Snow. Tyrion backs this due to his previous friendship with Jon, and Daenerys tells Tyrion to write to Jon inviting him to Dragonstone to bend the knee. In the north, Jon receives Tyrion's letter at the same time as he receives Sam's, despite warnings not to go south from both Sansa and the other northern lords due to the previous bad experiences that has afflicted his family. Jon decides to head south with Sir Davos in order to attempt to convince Dany to back them, both because they need the dragonglass as well as the fact that Daenerys' dragons would be a massive advantage against the army of the dead. He leaves Winterfell in Sansa's hands, much to Littlefinger's joy, but not before Jon almost strangles him in the crypts beneath Winterfell when he attempts to offer guidance, very similar to what Ned did to him back in Season 1. In King's Landing, Cersei attempts to rally the other remaining southern lords in an attempt to gain more allies, which includes Sam's father, Randyll Tarly. When asked what they're preparing to do about the dragons, Qyburn shows Cersei a device that he's been working on, a massive crossbow about the size of a tank called a Scorpion that would be able to take down something as big as a dragon, supposedly. Jaime then talks to Lord Tarly and his other son, Sam's younger brother, Dickon Tarly, yet again another victim of Game of Thrones recasting game, this time recast with Black Sail Tom Hopper, and manages to sway Tarly to Cersei's side by appealing to his greed for power and glory, offering to make him the new Warden of the South in Lady Olenna's place. Despite Randyll having known Olenna since she was a child, Jaime tells him that Olenna betrayed Westeros by ferrying over the Dothraki and the Unsullied, whom Tarly views as nothing as savages. In Old Town, Archmaester Eberros makes the decision that Jorah's grayscale is incurable and that he will be sent to Valyria to live out the rest of his days with the Stone Men. But when Sam finds out Jorah's identity, he uses the forbidden formula to attempt to cure Jorah, which results in yet another gross out moment in which Sam literally has to cut off Jorah's infected skin and spread ointment onto it, stating that because of his connection with Jorah's father, the former Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Jeor Mormont, he is not going to let Jorah die today. In the Riverlands, Arya is continuing on her way to King's Landing to finish off her list and kill Cersei. However, she stops in an inn and runs into an old friend of hers, Hot Pie, who informs her of the Bolton's defeat and Ramsay's death at the Battle of the Bastards, which sways her to head north and home. On the way, she is cornered by a pack of wolves led by her old direwolf Nymeria from way back in Season 1, whom she was forced to chase off for attacking Joffrey, a penalty that Sansa's direwolf lady was murdered for. She attempts to get Nymeria to come home with her, but she leaves with the rest of her pack, causing Arya to say, "That's not you," once again echoing another one of Ned Stark's famous words. And to wrap up this episode, we see the first major attack of the war, when Yara's fleet, which is also ferrying the Dornish troops, are attacked by Euron's fleet, and we finally get to see what Euron Greyjoy is capable of. And my god, does he have the swagger to back up the talk, because he wrecks shop. His men plow through Yaris, killing everyone in sight. The ships launch fireball after fireball, decimating the fleet, and Euron himself actually kills two of the Sand Snakes, Obara and Nymeria, with their own weapons. Ellaria and Tyene are captured, and Euron holds Yara at axe point and attempts to provoke Theon to attack, but Theon loses it again and jumps overboard, escaping as Euron heads back to King's Landing with his prize.